The Eagles. Now listen, I barely have a voice from yelling. From yelling in disappointment at Jake Elliott to yelling at Saquon. Saquon going off like he did before and like he always does for us, right? This game for 3 quarters, just about, well, for 3 quarters, had me wondering where were we, right? Not so much the defense. The defense has, without question, played their hearts out, right? Washington is a great team, but they made key stops. They had some garbage time points, and because of missed kicks, they had a chance with an onside kick to take it to what do they call it, overtime, but that didn't happen. We are a great team, right? The Eagles are a great team. The Commanders are a good team. That was a fight, right? No points in the first, 3 points in the second, almost none in the third. I mean, it was nuts. We had three in the third. So, and then the rest of our points just came in at the end. I just you had me worried. Okay, literally, you had me worried. I was wondering why Jalen. Let's back up. Let's back up. Let's just do piece by piece, right? Okay, we'll get the obvious one out of the way. Jake was bad tonight. Now, Jake has had too many years of being clutch, clutch, clutch for the Eagles for me to throw him out the door, right? He's had a couple of bad games this year where he's missed some kicks, but this was his worst performance by far, in my opinion. And whatever funk he needs to get out of, hopefully he gets out of that. Tomorrow, since we actually don't play again until what, the 24th, I believe, he needs to be practicing his ass off. 10-yard kicks, 20-yard kicks. The man needs to be practicing 70-yard kicks, okay? Because those points left on the board made the game way closer than it needed to be. Those missed kicks actually is, like I said, is what gave them hope at the end with the onside kick. He even makes that point after the touchdown at PAT. That onside kick is irrelevant because we're up 9. So Jake, I hope you get that up under wraps, right? So then we'll move to the offense. The offense really couldn't get much going. They knew when Saquon was going to get it, and they cut off his lanes. They really pressured Jalen, but what I did like is Jalen was throwing the ball, right? He didn't get sacked that much. He didn't get to the point where he was costing us a whole lot of yards backwards, but he wasn't getting us a lot of yards forwards. Again, sometimes the brother really does not see open players, or if he sees them, he ends up seeing them too late, right? So there are throws that Jalen could make to our players that 2 or 3 seconds earlier not only lets them catch it comfortably, but lets them set up to either avoid a defender or wrap up the ball so much that it doesn't get knocked out or knocked down. Those crucial seconds of decision making are hurting the offense in some ways, right? Obviously, we still won, and we won in a convincing fashion towards the end, but those type of things need to be cleaned up for the postseason and for the Super Bowl if we make it, God willing. I'm not putting the cart before the horse. I know it's a game. We have lots of football left. We got the Ravens left. We got to play the Commanders again. We got the Steelers. So I know there's lots of football left. But what I'm saying is to beat those teams and to beat playoff caliber teams and to go to the Super Bowl and win it, small things like that have to be cleaned up. I like that we didn't abandon the run altogether. Even though it was being stopped, we still went to it. We still got creative with it. Wait a minute. What in God's name was that flea flicker? You do a three-man flea flicker, but you give it back to Jalen when the defender is on his head? For all intents and purposes, you could have just kept the ball and ran, and you would have got at least 2 or 3 yards. But the guy basically had his arms up, ready to wrap Jalen up before the ball was even in the air. Should have just kept it. I mean, I don't know my creative plays, but listen, when they're beat and when they figured them out, adapt. Do something else. But back to my point, I was saying I like that we didn't fully abandon the run, right? We got Gainwell in there. Gainwell was running his ass off. He was like, listen, guys, I can run too, right? I can rush too. And he did. And again, Saquon, man, went ham. Ham. And he just really opens it up for everybody. For Smitty, for AJ, for Dotson. Listen, brother, get them hands together and you can get more looks. You had an amazing catch in the what was that? The Jaguars game where you bobbled it up behind the defender and still caught it. But you have to be consistent with it. You can't just make one good splash play and then be done. You got to work on your hands. But my goodness, we have a team full of people who can make plays. Jalen, when you were scrambling down by the end zone, you had 2 Eagles to your left with not a single Washington Commander in the same zip code. Why didn't you just pitch it to him? I mean, you did late, but your arms were bound up, so you couldn't get any throw under. You couldn't get any distance under it. But those guys have been open. A couple of these mistakes cleaned up, and we win that game by, 40-18 instead of 26-18. I could have been 40-18. But I am happy about the win. I'm happy about being battle tested and not giving up, not pouting, not panicking, running the game the way that it needs to be ran, and doing what we needed to do to secure the win against a very good team. Like I said, there's nothing really bad I have to say about the Commanders right now. They're playing good. They're playing really well. We're just a better team right now. That's all there is to it. And for all those people who are like, who you beat this and who you beat that, it's not only who you beat, but how you beat them and how you lock them down and how you manipulate the game. Yeah, the Cowboys beat the Giants. They stink, but they could have lost that game easily. You know, lots of people have beat other teams, but the way they dismantle them, the way that they pick them apart and handle them is really what matters. And how they handle adversity, like in this game, where not only were we missing points, but we couldn't really get anything going. But we kept it moving. We kept turning our feet. We kept being productive. We kept it on the ground. We didn't, get out of pocket and start doing all kinds of crazy stuff. That's the way to win games. And I'm super proud and super happy that we took care of business tonight. Now we have a nice long rest until our next game. And let me see, who is our next game against? I don't even remember because my brain is so freaking scrambled from that. We got the Rams. So we got the Rams, then the Ravens, then the break with the Panthers, then we got the Steelers, then we're right back to the Commanders again, and then finish it off with the Cowgirls and the Giants. Still a lot of football left. Postseason, everything else. But if we can keep this going, have the momentum, we might even end up with the first seed, home field advantage, and have to skip around to the playoffs. Maybe. You never know. I don't know. You don't know. We have to see how these next weeks go. But I'm hopeful. I am very, very hopeful that the Eagles can do this. And man, what a game. We have some Commanders fans at the spot tonight, and they were giving us heck over penalties, over not being able to get Saquon going, and then did they get quiet in the fourth? They got extra quiet in the fourth. And, hey, this was counting your chickens before they hatch. I told them there are 4 quarters of football, and the game is not over until the clock reaches 0-0-0-0, right? That game clock has to be over with you having at least one more point than your opponent. And that's the way the Eagles play ball. I appreciate that. I appreciate both the defense and the offense. Fly, Eagles, fly. Let's keep the momentum going, clean up these mistakes, and, hey, who knows what's in store for us for the rest of the season. Let's go. Go Birds.